Okay, I think we are live. So, welcome everybody to the Women of the Squatchapple webinar hosted by Sasquatch Trail Running. My name is Kim Levinsky. I'm the owner and race director for Sasquatch. We've been around since 2018, hosting trail parties throughout northern New Jersey and the Hudson Highlands of New York. So, tonight we are hosting a webinar that has an amazing panel of women who have participated in the Squatchapple over the years. So this event has affectionately become known as the Slop Apple, and you're going to hear more about that tonight. But we're going to start with introductions and then work our way through the list of questions that came in during the registration process. So we've got a full list of questions that'll definitely bring us through to the hour. We're going to wrap things up by 8 p.m. And if you have other questions, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you should be able to comment and we can check those out. But we're going to try to get through the questions that were submitted ahead of time first. So, all right, let's start with some intros. So, no particular order, just jump on in. Let's share who you are, where you're from, and which rendition of the Squatchapple you participated in.
Hi, I'm Judy. I'll start. I have done the 20 miler and it rained and a lot of puddles. And I've done the 50K and it rained and snowed and a lot of puddles and ice. I think the one year I volunteered because I couldn't run, the weather was absolutely perfect. And that was in 2021. And it hasn't been nice since because the last 3 years has garnered the name.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Zija. I'm from Randolph, New Jersey. I participated in the Squatchapple in 2023. I completed the 50K, and definitely it lived up to its name, the Slop Apple. I remember it started with snow, sleet, freezing rain, and by the end it was sunny and quite warm. I remember taking off all my layers, and I took pictures at the end of the race, and my shoes, my legs, my pants, they were just caked on with mud. This year, I'm doing the 11 miler.
We're going to fight over who goes next. Rosie, want to go next?
I can go.
I'm Sarah. I've done the we'll arm wrestle, then we'll just go. I'm Sarah. I've done the 50 miler a couple times and the 50K, I think, once. Judy's memory is a lot better than mine because it all sort of blends together, and that's sort of why I do these things, to kind of lose myself and to lose time. I feel like the first 50 miler I did with Beth was beautiful. I think it was nice weather. I definitely remember the 50 miler last year was very wet and very cold. So that's me.
Hi, my name is Rosalind. I'm from Bloomfield, New Jersey. And so I started with 20 miles in 21. It was muddy. I looked at pictures. And then I did 50K the next 2 years. And it was muddy, rainy, snow. And then last year was the torrential downpour for the 50 miles. And this
Excellent.
mile again.
Awesome. All right, Rosie, while we're getting ready for the next question, you are breaking up a little bit. Maybe a pair of headphones that might work. So if you want to do that while we're jumping into the first question, give it a try. Let's start with the first question. I think it's a great way to kick off the webinar tonight, which is, how do you prepare for the epic weather of the Squatchapple, or AKA the Slop Apple? So what advice do you have for people who, I'm thinking about, like, what should you pack? What kind of gear maybe should you bring that you might not be thinking you need in order to prepare for the Squatchapple, Slop Apple, if that's even possible? So go ahead and jump in if you've got thoughts on this question.
Changes of clothes and socks. The one thing when I did the 50K that somebody was nice enough who had a tent set up, or whatever the covers, and he let me I had my chair under there. So if everything could stay semi-dry. So if you could, I think if you have some type of tent or pop-up, I think that would be a really good thing to have just in case. And that way your things aren't on the ground if it's wet.
I would say everything you said, Judy, I agree with. Also, you might want another pair of sneakers, depending on,
good point.
Really these races. Kim always brings the great weather for us. So, for this year, I'm going to bring another pair of shoes. I only had one pair of shoes, so luckily I made it through all that mud, but another pair of shoes. And I would just say, and it might sound corny, but like bring a good attitude, like just have fun. And, at these races, we really have, a lot of time to finish too. Even if you walk, and hike, you could finish. So just embrace what comes your way and just have fun. Everybody's in it together, and you'll get through it.
I agree 100%. I think, there's the logistics, right? With the, toe socks or whatever, you put on your feet. When the wild goose the first time around was so wet, I was reading about how a trench foot, where you put the hand sanitizer on your feet and then, Desitin and whatever. But I think to Maria's point, the most important thing, whatever, there's, a bunch of different things you can put on your feet and whatever other gear you bring. But I think most importantly is the mental. So if you just say, it sort of is, you just sort of do it and relax and do it and don't try to fight whatever is there.
I think because it's a group and we're all in this together, you get to a point where you just start laughing. Because what else are you going to do? And I'm doing the 11 mile this year. I'm like, oh, only 2 loops. That'll be a walk in the park.
I think it makes it the experience too. Like in a way, like we always like joke and complain about the weather and like, oh gosh, here it comes. But like, it's what makes it memorable. Like thinking about the slop apple, thinking about the wild goose during the tropical storm Ophelia. Like these are things we all remember and we still talk about them, even though it's like years ago.
Okay, that is awesome. Let's go on to the next question, which is, here it is. What is your favorite course loop and why? So, few different loops to pick from. Did any of you have a favorite loop out of the ones that we have for the slop apple?
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I think there's good and bad about each loop. So my personal favorite is probably the checkered. It's the most runnable, even though it has a massive hill. Sorry about the static.
That's a good point.
You sound great now.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That is an excellent point. That was, as much as I hate that hill, but I'm just not a fan of that hill. It is the most runnable of the loop.
Yeah. But you just walk up the hill, eat your snacks, walk up.
Exactly. And you chat with people.
Yeah.
Is Checkered the one that goes up the Lenape? Yep. Are you dead yet? Well, that's that one. Okay.
Yep.
I forget which loop is which.
I like pink and checkered, and I don't like blue because it has the most roads. I'm a road snob, a trail snob.
Well, I'll take blue then. So blue has a champion. So I mean, I spend a lot of time running in South Mountain. I spend less time over on that side. So for me, there's sort of a little bit of novelty being over there on that side. So I'll take blue just to champion the outcast.
It's just the grassy section that drives me nuts.
The hill up to the road, that one?
Yeah.
Well, you're wide open, right? You can see out. You're not closed in. I'll find ways to sell it.
And if you run like Susanna and I did, you just sing while you're running.
The mud, I feel like, gets really lovely over on the blue too, because there's that. I think it's probably the most narrow. I think of all the. I think it has the most single track. So you get some really lovely. If you're looking for like the best mud, I would say blue is probably. If we're doing the grading scale of mud, because there's lots of big puddles, thick mud. You can't really get out of the mud, so you really have to just sort of sort of embrace it. I can keep going on blue.
No, that's awesome. And I'm thinking about it'd be fun to share. I can share a little bit of the history of the Squatchapple. So the blue loop is one that has changed over the years. Initially, it was like a
lollipop or something.
Yeah, it was like this really wonky out and back where there was cross traffic. So it became very confusing as the race grew because we had more and more people who were coming to the event, which is awesome. But it just got too crazy, and I was doing it that way because I personally don't enjoy pavement, so I was trying to keep it off the pavement as much as possible. But then as the race grew, just kind of had to surrender to we need to get rid of the cross traffic and get it on the pavement a little bit. But one nice thing that I hear at the finish line from people who come back from blue is that the pavement is a nice break from the mud. So people do enjoy that where you get off track for a little bit and your feet can you can squish out the water and the mud when you're on the pavement. So I've heard that is some positive feedback on the blue loop.
I do remember that lollipop, and I think it was the first 50 miler there, and it was like a trip because you weren't sure, like, are you going in the right direction? Is that guy going in? Because you would, you cross people, everybody going in different directions. It was sort of a free love kind of situation out there.
Free love and a little bit of chaos. So
yeah, because I think if you took the wrong turn, I think the first year I did that loop. If you took the wrong turn, you'd end up doing it all.
Yeah, not good.
Mile. Yeah,
it was not good. We had people with a lot of bonus miles that really got their bang for their buck that year. So it is now simplified. There's no cross traffic anymore on the blue loop, so it's a lot easier to navigate. Okay, let's keep going to the next question. This is a good one with what recommendations or advice do you have for newer runners who have trouble staying motivated or positive about their performance? So I think this is tapping into more of the mental side of endurance. So running and hiking. I think there's that quote. It's like 99% mental or something like that. But can you ladies speak to the mental side of trail and ultra? And I think probably tap into a little bit of some positive self-talk here.
I would say just, no matter your pace, just keep moving. And even if you're walking, just keep moving. And don't compare yourself to anybody else too, because I think if you start to compare yourself to other people, then you kind of get into that negative self-talk, like I'm not going to finish this, or I'm not good enough. Like the trail community, I find, is very welcoming, inclusive, and cheers everybody on. So if you're just there, you got your goals in mind. I want to finish this race. Just pace yourself, take your time, take breaks when you need to. Again, I keep saying, like, Kim, you're so welcoming of all abilities and paces. Like, the time that we have is really generous. So even if taking these breaks, if you need that time to just like pull it together, or if you're going through this, sometimes mentally you're like breaking down, you're like, I can't finish this, or I don't want to do this anymore. And if you take a 5-minute break and just sit down, give yourself some food and drink, then your mind shift kind of changes, and then you're fine to go on to the rest. So like, just don't give up right away, and just keep moving no matter the pace.
And I walk a lot on the trail. I do a lot of the mix. I'm one of the back of the packers. And when I walk, I get to see things that everybody who's so focused on going fast and running, they miss. So you get to see the beauty. And it's harder. It's harder when you're slower because you're on your feet longer. So think about how strong you are for being out there and doing it.
I like to say forward is a pace and just one foot in front of the other.
Look, I can talk about this forever, so I'll try to be as brief as I can, because I'm really interested in the mental thing and really interested in pain. Partly part of the work I do, my like 9 to 5-ish, I work with people who have a lot of pain and who are physically can't always do everything. So I think partly I feel really lucky that I can do this. I tend to really like my life is so structured. I get really busy and like time blocks, like I have to get stuff done. So I love that I can lose time, that I'm like my only job. I have one job. Like I don't have 20 things I have to keep track of and all the things with my family and my life. I have one job and I have one job for the whole, however long the race is. So I love that simplicity. To Maria's point, I think I took this from the Women's 100 Miler project, that if you feel like you're going to cry, have a snack. So I think, and I've tried to teach that to my kids, right? If that sometimes you just take care of the physical needs, and that's what you need to get through something. And in terms of mantras, I tend to get like one song lyric stuck in my head, which is not super inspirational, but it kind of goes along with the losing myself, hopefully, piece of it. I think, to be totally honest, I think in the last 50 Mile in the Rain, I think I had a Taylor Swift one like sentence, one lyric from a song the whole, almost 12 hours. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but that's what happens to me. But I think there's so much to say about the mental, and I think that's what makes this sport so beautiful. It's not, the physical. I think we are. It's sort of manageable for everybody if you just sort of do it. I mean that's hard, but it's the mental which makes it really a challenge. Makes it really fun. To go back to, I think somebody was asking how to motivate. I think how to stay. The question exactly was how to motivate. I think. I think if you can find running buddies, that's sort of the best thing to do. So if somebody's there waiting for you in the training, or if you can run with somebody. I remember the first 50 miler I did with my friend Beth. I was like, the last loop, I'm like, I just have to follow you. So she went in front and I just followed her feet. So I think having that community and having somebody else who can help pull you along mentally. I think there's a lot more I can say, but I'll stop.
Wait, Sarah, you have to tell us. I mean, what was the Taylor Swift song that you had on repeat?
Oh my God. I think it was the song Mean, you're so, now I'm going to get, a different song stuck in my head, and nobody wants to hear me sing, but it's the one about, all you are is mean. You're pathetic and loser. I don't know why. I mean, that's not nice to say to you. I was trying to say it to myself in the race. But I think I had the one, somebody shows up at a football game or something, that song, and then it's all you are is anyway. I think that's what it was.
Hey, if it works, it works. So that's good.
I wouldn't recommend it.
I get stuck on the songs too, or just get in a mode of one song feels great and you just let it play out. Okay, the next question, a little bit similar vein. This is about cutoff times and finishing within the allotted time. So this question is, this is my first 50K and I'm a slow runner / fast walker. Any race day tips to help me finish in the allotted time?
Just keep moving forward. You have plenty of time to finish, and you could just take it. The other thing that I did was I took it loop by loop and just break it down, and don't look at the whole distance. Say, okay, I think pink is the first loop. Let's finish a pink loop, and the carrot at the end of the stick is there's food when you get back, and that's another nice thing about this. Some people don't like doing loops, but the nice thing about it is you know that either in 6 miles or 7 miles or 4 miles, you get back to your things, so you don't have to load up your vest as much if you don't want to. There's food, there's aid, so you're never far from that. And that's you just keep taking it one loop at a time.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Judy. I think small chunks is better than just that overall. Like when you think of 50 miles, it can be very overwhelming. But if you say 5 miles, it's, and how many loops that is, it's a lot more manageable that way. So whatever chunk of distance that helps you, do it that way, instead of saying oh, I have 49 more miles to do. Think about what you did so far too. Thinking in reverse, sometimes that helps some people mentally. I also think, remember, you have a lot of time, so don't try rushing out, trying to, with the faster people to to try to keep up with them. I'm in the same boat as the person who asked the question. I consider myself a slow runner, fast walker too. And again, I finished many of Kim's races and the long distance ones too. And I also think just to know that when you do ultra distance races, you are going to most likely, for most people, they go through that gamut of emotions too, and not to get freaked out by that and scared. You're going to be really excited and really happy. And then, maybe 20 miles later, you're questioning yourself. Are you really angry or you're crying? It will pass. Just keep going one step at a time, and you'll finish. Keep that positive attitude.
The one thing I would add, I'm not fast enough to spend time in aid stations. So I think if you sit down, it could be over. So I tend to, if I'm going to grab anything, just grab it and go. I don't linger. I think that would be one tip I would say.
Sarah, I'm the same way. I pack all my snacks. I know exactly where everything is. So I don't eat up time that way. I just grab it and then I eat it on the uphills.
Yeah, don't sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'll add, and this is an observation from the finish line, because now it's been 5 or 6 years of seeing hundreds of people finish or maybe drop from the race. When we have sloppy weather for the slop apple, something that becomes really important is to keep moving, and because when I notice when people stop, and it's very tempting to hang out at the aid station because that's where the party is, but when you stop and maybe you like sit next to the fire and it's all cozy, or if you go back to your car and your squad is there, you got crew and they're all warm and giving you like hot coffee and stuff, those things could be good, but you also need to be mindful that, especially in March, a lot of times with the rain that we have, it's a cold, wet, driving rain. And when you stop moving, you get cold really fast. So that's advice I'd just pass on from observations at the finish line for folks that tend to take longer breaks. It's much more difficult to get back out there and keep moving on the course.
And if you have a squad there, what you want to do is tell them what you want and have them meet you and have it in hand ready to give to you. And that will keep you going, okay, you have your snack and then you keep moving. That will help not linger and not stiffen up and want to stop.
I also think making lists might be helpful for some people. I'm a list person, and it keeps me organized. So, especially when I started the race, I'm a little more flexible now, but I would, at every distance, I would say like, drink this amount, eat this many things, or this particular thing. So that kind of keeps you on track too. So you don't fall behind on your nutrition, and even just having a list of what you pack too, and knowing where you put it ahead of time. So, especially if you're worried about a time crunch, where exactly everything is, and you're not wasting time trying to dig and try to find like ointment or something like that.
Can I marry you? Are you free to?
I'm taken to a good guy.
So the other thing I would add to that is, because it's loops, when you get there, set up your little station, your chair, like your table, if you brought a table, and know where everything is. So before you get there, I'll say to myself, I'm cold, I'm wet, I want to change my shirt. I know exactly where it is. I'm going to run, grab it, change, and I'm going to keep moving.
Yeah, that's great advice. In the past, last year, there was very poor weather we won't call it poor, we'll call it spicy weather that was forecasted. So we did our best to provide shelter for folks who were coming without a crew, or maybe they were dropped off at the race, so they didn't have a vehicle in the parking lot. So we put up a big 10 by 20 pop-up tent and offer that as shelter. The thing is, this weather tends to like sideways rain and mud and all that. So another tip that I would pass on that I see a lot at our events when we have spicy weather, and even when we don't actually, is A really successful strategy is to either bring like a plastic storage bin where you can keep your gear if you're planning on accessing stuff during the race. I've seen little storage bins. I've seen those Home Depot buckets with the lids on them. Dry bags, which is waterproof material that you can cinch shut so that things don't get in, it doesn't get wet. And then also have seen to be really successful is if you have stuff that you want to keep dry in your pack, pack it in either Ziploc bags or you can get small dry bags. And if you just Google dry bag, you'll see what I mean. It kind of looks like a scuba thing that you would use when you're going out in the water, but you can use it for gear. So that is some advice I'd pass on for keeping your stuff dry. Because if it's left out under, even though we have the tent there and we put tarps on the ground, stuff still gets really wet if it's going to be raining at the Slop Apple.
I put a garbage bag on my chair.
Garbage
it
bag,
covers it.
Perfect. Yeah, garbage bag,
Yeah.
poncho, anything that's going to be completely waterproof is your best bet for this event. Okay, so kind of going in that same direction, this question is about gear and what you carry with you. So the question is, this will be my first non-backyard style ultra race. I'm curious about what everybody carries on their person or in their running pack when they're out on the course.
Snacks, water, wipes. That's my go-to.
Yeah, so whatever you bring during your training, whatever you've been eating and snacking on, bring that. When I did it again, I go by the loop. So I know I had everything separated out in Ziploc bags so that when I came through the loop, so that I didn't have to carry too much, I could grab the next loop's snack bag or with gels or whatever you like. And then I could just grab that, put it in my pack and keep going. Poles, if you're one to use poles, have them handy. The other thing I was going to say is I got Gore-Tex shoes this year and they've been amazing. So that's something, don't want to be training in something new, but they're really not a bad thing to have to help keep the feet drier.
I also carry a small first aid kit with me, just in case. I luckily have not been able to have to use it on myself, but I've come across other runners who I needed to help out. So I always carry that because you never know what you could run into. I also think, obviously your cell phone and having like a portable charger, especially if you're going for like 50 miles and beyond too, just to have that, just in case, again, if you're ever in any situation that you have a form of communication, or if you're worried that no one's going to be around you or it's dark, just gives you a peace of mind.
The only thing I'd add, I have Mylar blankets that I just keep in my pack all the time, just in case. So they're there just in case. I have to take medication when I eat, so I always take that with me. And then I have salt pills in there too. And then I always take just a headlamp with me. I keep it in there just in case I forget, because I don't trust my brain after a certain point. You guys are all organized. I'm not quite as organized. So I always just shove one in there just in case I forget to get all geared up. And if I'm out there and I forget, then I at least have that one. So that's the only thing I'd add.
That's great. And Maria, I'm really glad you brought up the cell phone because we don't have required gear for all of our races, but this is one of the events where we do. So I'm going to read it from the website in case you've missed it. Any runners or hikers who are still out on the course at 5 p.m. are required to have a headlamp and a charged cell phone with them. Sunset is at 6 o'clock. So it's really important that you have both of these. I'll share a short story. A couple of years ago, we had a 50-miler runner who may have told us that they had their cell phone with them and they didn't. So this is now why we ask individuals to physically show us your headlamp, physically show us your cell phone after 5 o'clock. So this individual went out on the course. They were loopy because they were out there for a long time. They missed a turn and ended up in Milburn, and they also didn't have a headlamp. So they came back in the pitch black with, I think I don't know how they were doing it because they didn't have a phone with the flashlight. They didn't have a headlamp. Eventually made it back to the start, but at that point we had called the county sheriffs and when we started to send people out, our sweepers out to go and find them. So when this person got back to the start, they said that their cell phone was in their car. So we were calling their phone. Nobody was answering. We called the emergency contact, and it's just not a good situation. So when there's required gear for any event, it's really important to make sure you honor that and have it with you. So this is an event where, you think, oh, I'm in West Orange, they're local suburban trails, but wonky things happen when you're out there. We could have people who are being jerks and vandalize the course, and an arrow gets taken down, and you're out there longer than you expected. You didn't think you needed a headlamp. So that's why we have headlamps at 5 o'clock along with your cell phone. So
Kim aged 10 years that day.
There's been several stories over the years where you could zoom in on my hair. I've got a lot of gray hairs from stories like that. But I and my team, we learn from those experiences. So that happened years ago, and we implement some of these rules just to make sure, try to mitigate some of those things from happening. So, all right, let's move on to another really fun subject that's important for this event, which is foot care. So this question was just, hey, can you talk about foot care for ultra runners? So this is a fun topic because if you ask 5 runners about foot care, you'll probably get 5 different answers. None is necessarily wrong or right. There's just different strategies of what works well for individuals. So let's hear some of your strategies. And I'm assuming there'll definitely be some crossover, but there'll probably be some differences as well. So hop on in with your foot care tips.
Good socks. So I use Smartwool or Darn Tough. Those are my favorite. And I lube up my toes before I start. And good socks does the job.
I've had good luck with the Injinjis, with the toe socks. And the other thing you can do is they have liners. So if your feet get cold and you want to wear multiple pairs, is the toe sock liners, and then just a regular pair of socks over that. But good socks is key, no matter what you prefer.
I'm a big fan of the merino wool socks too. I like creeper socks, and that's a strange name, but they're actually really good socks from New Zealand. They're the toe socks too. I typically just use like swirls nut butter, some kind of lube on my feet. But if I know it's going to be really bad out there, I will go and use diaper cream. It can stain your socks, but I find it lasts a long time, and it's pretty waterproof. So I sometimes will alternate between the two. And then I learned this from, I think, Thor from Wild Goose, that you also just can't do it day of. You have to kind of prep your feet ahead of time too. So like that's something I've gotten better with, is like making sure your feet are soft and moisturizing them too. And that, I feel like that reduces your blister chances too. And just the time on your feet too. I mean, your feet just get used to the terrain, and you'll have less pain.
There's a book that probably everybody's heard of, if not read, Fixing Your Feet, which I think is a fascinating read. You wouldn't necessarily think it is, but it's fascinating because everybody has different issues. We have different feet, different bodies, different, whatever. So that's a great book if you want to sort of troubleshoot your specific issues. I also do Desitin if it's gnarly. I do Smartwool or toe socks, and then I do trail toes is my rub of choice. But I would just echo everybody else says about, it's just what Maria was saying too about time. Sometimes you just need to spend time on your feet. Oh, and trim your toenails. So no long toenails.
That's a great point about the toenails. I feel like that's not talked about a lot. A tip I got from the legendary Matt Klein, who, if you're coming to Squatchapple, he is one of the aid station captains for this event. He has great advice with toenails, is make sure you clip them, but do that several days before the race. Because if you do it the night before and it doesn't go well for whatever reason, you don't have time to let that heal. So clipping your toenails is good to do several days out. I will definitely give a plug for our webinar that we did this past year with our race medic Thor, who Maria just mentioned. She is a phenomenal human being, and she's been the race medic for Wild Goose for the last couple of years. And I think she's affectionately known also as like the foot angel. So she brings runners and hikers back from the dead in many different ways, but foot care is one of them. So if you go onto our website, onto the clinic page, you'll be able to see the recording of that webinar. We also have it on our podcast if you want to listen to it. But there are a lot of really good tips for foot care in that, including the prep work that is really helpful to do leading up to the event. So definitely recommend listening to that. Here's a fun question. It is, what is your favorite food at the aid station? So what do you got for Squatchapple aid station?
Pierogies. And I will ask that you make sure you have enough this year because I missed out on them at Squatchapple. I think I got one or two that were left by the time I was ready to eat them. I was so bummed.
We bought out the ShopRite from pierogies that race. I remember that there was none. There was none left. But I won't bring the camera over to my freezer, but my freezer is literally all pierogies from the leftovers race. There's leftover pierogies. They're all fresh in the bags, but we will have more than enough pierogies, I promise you. And they are we never do cheese in the pierogies, so they're onion and potato, so they are vegan.
Perfect.
I'm a pierogi fan. I'm a pierogi fan too. And I remember sometimes on loops, again, for motivation, I might say like, okay, I got to just run 5 miles and then I'm going to have some delicious pierogies and to treat myself after completing this. And I did have that situation where I'm like, okay, I'm almost done getting my pierogies. And then there was nothing left. And I was like, oh, but I got quesadillas. So that made everything better. That was good too.
So I love the quesadillas. And if I'm lucky, there's bacon too.
I mean, pierogies are probably one of my favorites too, but I would just say to keep an open mind because it's all delicious and you might not know what you want. I followed one woman. I don't know if she really wanted me to, but the first time I did a really long distance, I followed some woman and I just sort of copied her. She was lovely about it, but listening to her about trying to listen to your body, because it's hard to do, I think, for me. But if you can listen to yourself and then say, okay, I need more salt, or right now I want, whatever. So if you have some flexibility and some ability to listen to what you need, it might not be the same thing every time. It might be something you wouldn't even expect that you sort of need right then and there. So I stole that from a friend.
Yeah, I think that's important because, a lot of times you'll pack and you'll bring things and then you're just your body or your mind is like, I don't want to look at any other sweet thing. And like, that's all you have. So it's great to have aid stations available. You're not dependent just on yourself. So again, I think what you said, being flexible and open-minded and just listen to your body to what it needs, because it will tell you.
Bacon and grilled cheese are two other good ones.
Yeah, bacon is something we can never have enough of, and that I've just come to accept that fact. You can never buy enough bacon for a trail race because as soon as you put it out, you can start smelling that bacon from like a mile away, and it's good motivation to get back to the aid station. But I did want to share. I'm going to give a little sneak peek here. You guys get you're first to hear it. Matt Klein, he did this for the Wild Goose. He's offered to do it again for the Squatchapple. For individuals who finish the 50 miler, we will be doing pizza in his famous pizza oven. So pizza for 50 miler finishes, especially those who are coming in with like seconds left on the clock. We're going to have pizza ready for you for that. So get stoked for
That's awesome. Kim, what are the most pierogies and bacon? Are there like surprise favorites? Like what's the most popular food item?
Yeah, I mean pierogies are absolutely like, if you want a consistent aid station food that's reliable, it's pierogies. I would say pickles are a big one. Pickles are always something where like for some of the shorter distances, like a 10K, if I don't get pickles, I'll hear about it from people who are like, "Where are the pickles?" So that is definitely one. Pickles, the pierogies, bacon. It's another good one for these events where if the weather is kind of spicy and it starts to get cold is the hot broth. So
Yep.
Oh yeah.
we'll go through a lot of that. Wild goose, the first year we could not keep up with the broth noodle production because it was so insane with the weather. But I would say hot broth is one that's great. And we asked for dietary restrictions during registration process, and I've been really amazed at how many folks are coming into the event as vegetarians or vegans. So we really try to have enough options for people where they can eat from the aid station. Um, Again, if you have it really strict and you're really limited on the amount of things you can eat, I definitely recommend bringing some of your own food. But we do try to accommodate a lot of the dietary needs for folks. So, have you guys tried? Do you use Scratch hydration? I wanted to bring up Scratch while we're on the topic of aid stations.
Yeah, I use it. So if you get the apple cider, make that hot. If it's
Oh
spicy
yeah,
enough, it tastes really good, and you're getting hydration. I mix it. Sometimes I mix it with alternate between that and Element, just to get a change. But that's been the Scratch has been what works for me.
Doesn't Scratch have the cookies too?
those were limited edition. I know they did a run of them, and they're not currently on the shelves right now. They
Those
were
were
good though.
so good.
I don't think I tried
Yeah,
those.
I have the Scratch. I like the super high carb. I still have trouble with it mixing, but even with that, it still works for me. And like Judy said, to not get that palate fatigue, I think it's pronounced NAC, the Canadian brand. So
yeah.
I rotate between those two, and they work for me. But again, we've mentioned it just like the gear, like you have to test out what works for you. Some people say like, oh, this like Tailwind or whatever brand like works for me, and then other people can have gastric, upset from that too. So you really have to test it out.
Yeah, the Scratch. We will have our Scratch rep Kenton at the event, so he's already planning on being there. And we love when he comes to the events because he brings so many of the different Scratch products. So you can definitely count on there being Scratch Hydration and the Scratch Chews. And he does usually offer the super high carb mix as well. It's just a little bit more limited, but you can for sure try some of the Scratch products at this race if you've never done that before. We had a comment come in from Sarah Kool-Aid who says the people want to know if there will be Squatchapples at the aid station again. We attempted to make Squatchapples last year at the aid station. It was just an idea that came up, and we told the aid station, see if you can make a Squatchapple. We don't really know what they are, but let's invent what a Squatchapple is. So there were some really creative renditions of the Squatchapple. It was kind of like a mix of an apple and Oreos and Nutella and potato chips. So if you're brave enough to try that during the event, you can go for that. But we'll try to have the Squatchapples there. So, all right. Well, we are coming down to the end of the webinar. If there's any more questions for people who are watching, we've got over 20 people who are tuning in. You can drop them in the chat and we can pitch them to the webinar, but to the panel. So, ladies, in closing, do you have any last little bit of advice that you'd like to throw in for people who are signed up for the Squatchapple in March?
I would say if you're on the fence, like I know that there's 37 spots left, just go and do it. And if you're like on the fence, like I don't think I can do the longer distance, go for it. You'll surprise yourself. Like think about all the advice we've heard, talk to other people, who run, and like just kind of put it together, make it yours, test things out, but just go and give it a try. The worst thing that could happen, you get a DNF, but at your races, Kim, you have that option. If you're not going to meet the 50 mile, you can drop down to a 50K or 50 50K to the 20 miler. So just go out, give it your all, and see.
Have fun. It is a fun race, no matter what the weather.
This is one of my favorite events of the year. And I love running in South Mountain, and hopefully I'm going to be doing this for years.
Well, I love that. I hope we all are doing this for years. And I would just add, even if the weather is spicy, as Kim says, it beats, sitting on the couch. It beats being at work. It beats, all the other things that you could be doing. If you're lucky enough to be able to be out in the woods all day, it's a pretty great thing, even if it's raining.
And we're in this together. We're all out there experiencing the same thing. Just have fun, enjoy it. Kim, I'm curious, how many women versus men in this race?
I could tell you. You got to give me a second, though. I got to look it up.
And I would say for new runners, I've done this and just latched on to people, and people tend to be, they've been nice to my face about it. So maybe they're talking smack about me behind my back. But I think if you're a new runner and you're out on the trail and you happen to be with somebody who's close to your pace, I don't think anybody would if you can talk to people and run with people and keep each other company, that's a great thing to do. So I'd say if you're new to trail, don't be shy about jumping on with somebody or with a group or whatever, just to be part of it. Help each other through it.
Don't give up.
I find trail people are the friendliest people.
Agreed.
Friendlier than road races.
It's just a different environment. It's
the party vibe. Like, it's not a race, it's the trail party. That's what you're getting into.
Yeah, and there are people who race it and they want to win, but it's an extremely welcoming environment, and it's not, well, what pace are you going for? It's not pace driven. It's just to be.
Yeah, and people are friendly and helpful. I had an experience. It wasn't one of your races, Kim, but I found a guy lying on the trail with a really bad cramp, and I rubbed his calf and helped him, and he finished the race.
That's awesome, Rose.
And we're friends.
You probably won't find that in a road race. All right. Well, I've got the stats for you. As of today, February 5th, we have 324 participants. 198 are male, 126 are female. So that split is 61% male, 38.9% female. So that's across all of the distances. But this is the thing, and this is what happens. This is the trend for the industry, is the sub ultra distances for the Squatchapple, the 11 mile and the 20 mile. It's 50% or greater female registrants, and then drops for the 50K and the 50 miler, where there's more men than women who are signed up. So this is one of the reasons why we're doing more webinars like this and more events to encourage females to come out and go for that ultra distance. We have generous cutoff times. We want you to finish. There's some races out there who are like, this is the hardest thing ever, and good luck finishing. But that is not Sasquatch. It's not. You're not going to find that with the volunteers and with me and the staff. We are there to support you, and we want you to finish. So, like these ladies have said, if you're on the fence on if you should sign up or not, go for it. It's going to be, I can guarantee at this point, because we're like 6 years into it, it will be memorable. It will be one to remember. So every year, I'm not kidding. Every year we get to 9 p.m. where everything is packed up, and I turn to the volunteers who are left and I say, I didn't think it could get crazier than the year before, but it did. And that happened last year. It was raining. Rosie knows, she was out there at the very end. It was raining so hard you could barely see. And we just see little lights coming through the woods. And, but those, I think everyone would agree, those are the most memorable. And you never forget experiences like that.
Yeah. It was one of my favorite finishes.
It was epic. And we still don't let Carlos forget, your husband.
Sitting in the car.
He stayed
warm.
in the car. Unbelievable. So,
and I'll just add, if there's anybody really new out there that's nervous, find me and I'll run with. I mean, I'll sing Taylor Swift at you, but find me and I'll run with you if you want the company. Is that a threat? I don't know.
When I was finishing, and Kim did this, I had a friend with me, and we were singing Green Acres at the end, the theme song from Green Acres.
Yes.
Anything is possible when you're out there.
Anything goes.
Oh.
Carlos heard you, Rosie. Not cool. Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. If you were watching live on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, looked like we had a bunch of people who are watching. If you're catching this on the replay, we really appreciate you tuning in. Again, we've got, when the webinar started at 7:00, there were 37 spots left. So I promise this will sell out in the next week or so. So try to grab your spot before then. Otherwise, you're going to end up on the wait list, and Sasquatch doesn't have a crystal ball to know if you'll get in or not. So that is it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly. My email and phone are listed on the website, sasquatchtrailrunning.com. And I want to say one more very big thank you to our panelists here tonight. This was so much fun.
This was great. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for having
me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, keep it squatchy.